Hi, this is Eric Molin, and this is Impact Presenting Podcast Episode 12. In this edition, I'll speak with Tim Froning in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Josh Boquist in Seattle, Washington. Josh and Tim are sales representatives for the German manufacturer of high-end industrial adhesives, Delo, based just outside of Munich, Germany. Josh and Tim were previously in a few of my classes and have taken some time out of their day to talk to me about what's been working from the class when they get on stage, as well as this virtual presenting environment that everyone finds themselves in these days and what's working for them there, as well as sharing their advice for other presenters who have to give presentations on technical subjects. Hey, good morning, Tim. Good morning, Josh. How you guys doing today?
Good. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Eric.
I think I have a 9-hour
morning time for Josh. Lunch over here on the East Coast.
Yep, and I'm still drinking my coffee here in Seattle.
What time is it in Seattle?
9:30.
9:30. Yeah, as Tim said, yeah, breakfast in Seattle, lunch in Charlotte, North Carolina, and dinner in Vienna, Austria.
There you go.
So we've had some training classes together. I think it focused a lot on sales, but today we're talking about public speaking. We're talking about presentation skills. You guys have taken a really quite long journey, from the beginning with presenting your company. And so let me throw it out to you guys. You started with, we had our first course together. I believe it was about 4 years ago.
Yep. Yeah. And that was, I think, shortly after I started at Delo as well. And really before I really started doing presentations in front of large audiences. So I think that was kind of helpful for that transition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tim, let's talk.
Yeah, and likewise for me, I started just a few months after Josh, and I think our first training with you was up in Boston, probably sometime in that September-October timeframe. So it was really a pretty good jumping off point for learning how to do some public speaking in the realm of Delo.
What I'd like to ask is if you think about, okay, you're having a sales meeting of 5 people or 10 people and everyone's got to report something. Okay, that's like, yeah, it is public speaking in a way. But then both of you at Delo, you started giving presentations to rooms full of people, both internal, like your colleagues, and and you have colleagues from colleagues and coworkers like from 40 different countries or something.
Yeah.
I mean, really international, and to large groups as well. So what's been working for you? What did you find at the beginning? Like, was there some advice that I gave that was the most useful?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the first things we learned in your class, obviously, is to really rehearse and practice your presentation, whatever it is you're going to be talking about. You want to make sure you're really comfortable with that material and you're not just getting up in front of a large group of people and trying to wing it, because that becomes pretty transparent pretty quickly. Another thing which I found always really helpful was not to focus your eyes in one location for too long, to really kind of bounce around your attention to different aspects or different areas of the audience so that it really looks like you're engaging with everybody that's in the audience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about looking at all the different audience members when we're doing virtual. You just have to look at the webcam.
That's true.
When you start searching the gallery of faces, then it starts to look really strange. So it's like, no, just look at the little green light.
Right.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I think from my side, kind of similar to Tim, making eye contact with the audience, but also I found with me on the stage, actually moving around and not just standing at the podium and kind of having some movement helps me not only to look and redirect my attention to others, but also it helps calm my nerves a little bit. It kind of, I don't know, it makes me feel more comfortable to actually have some movement on stage. I don't know why that is, but I just found that pretty effective for me. And then also just engaging the audience. So I remember giving a presentation and actually passing around some samples or some ideas that they could actually take a hold of and look at, rather than just looking at a presentation. They're actually interacting with something as I'm discussing it, which I think is a double-edged sword, right? So it could distract from my presentation, but it also gives this kind of new insight as well at the same time. So I think you have to use that carefully, but I certainly enjoyed incorporating that in my presentations.
Well, the thing is things to an audience member, if you're passing out samples, that's true. They may distract themselves with that. But that doesn't mean that if you don't do it, that they're going to be paying attention to you. They could also be silently drifting off. And if you put something in their hands, then it really, at least you know that they're there in the moment examining that, and that's going to make an impact.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, movement's an interesting one. And actually, this actually works virtually as well, I've discovered. So, of course, for the last 1 year almost now, I've been doing most of my courses through the webcam, also with you guys as well. And what I discovered was if you elevate your computer to eye level, and you can then, while you're standing, then you can give a presentation from a standing position, and it actually makes it a lot easier for you to move your hands while you're speaking. And I've been told that it's more relaxing, but the effect for me as the coach, as the viewer, I see that people sound, or they're acting and they're sounding much more confident with just a small hack. So,
yeah. I think that's a good point too. With these virtual meetings, it can always be a little bit more awkward. So trying to make it more, or I should say less like a virtual meeting and more like you would in person is maybe helpful to kind of also get your headspace correct and not make it seem as awkward as much as you can.
Tim, you were smiling there.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of going through that myself at the moment. I'm actually preparing for a public presentation for DELO at a virtual conference, which will be next week. It's a motors and drives, so focused mainly on e-motors. But one thing I'm trying to work through is the whole logistics of it all, right? So I have my normal office set up, my L-shaped corner desk, sitting here in the corner of my office. But I don't think that that's really going to be the most conducive setup for me to give a really effective presentation, to be involved in the material and really give, be energetic and make sure I'm presenting in the most good manner.
Yeah, well,
so I'm trying to decide whether or not I need to relocate my computer somewhere else for the presentation, set up some stands behind me, trying to really work through that. So definitely a little bit different than what you would normally have in a conference hall.
Well, I know this coach, and he has some advice on that. No, but I think what Josh said, and this is something to think about, Tim, as well, and this is something I consider very regularly, is that when we're in home office, we don't have the same signals, same indicators like we do it when we're in the office. Like, okay, I'm going to the boardroom, I'm standing in front of a room full of people, I'm in presentation mode. But it's kind of like, we go to our home office desk and we check our mail there, we drink our coffee there, maybe we eat a bagel there, and then we present there. And it's just that we don't tap into this energy reserves that we have unless we stand back and make it the event that it is, which is like, okay, I'm going to go out and talk to somebody and there's something important writing on it. So, but I can definitely tell you, that getting that laptop up to eye level, that you can stand and talk to it, even if it's on a bunch of old boxes or books, nobody sees that.
Sure.
It's for you.
Yeah.
So, definitely I'll help you out on that one, Tim.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, you guys, you're out there, you're presenting, you're feeling better about it, but you're also sitting in a lot of presentations by technical people, really technical people. And that tends to be a big client base of mine, are people that they're experts in something and they have to communicate that expertise in a way that doesn't sound dry and boring. So, what are some tips that, as now accomplished presenters, that you would give to, for example, let's say a technician or a chemist or some other type of technical expert, to help them be more dynamic, make more impact? What would you say?
Yeah, I think, so from my side, what I notice is I hear a lot of these technical people that are maybe experts on the subject, but like you said, it can be very boring, it can be monotonous, they're monotoned, and you might find yourself falling asleep during their presentations. So I think what I found effective for me is, and what I see people do or they lack the capability to do, is present effectively through a PowerPoint. Oftentimes there will just be lots of words and you have to read what they want to say or what they're trying to portray. And it's just boring and you give up after reading the first couple sentences. So you just sit there and listen to them talk monotonously. So I think what I did is I really made an effort to cut down on the words and show more pictures, show more examples of what I'm actually trying to speak about, and save the words for myself to actually discuss rather than put on the screen. So I think that's definitely helpful for me. And also, if I do have lots of content on the slide, then I'll also maybe highlight through PowerPoint. I'll have the first topic come up and it'll be bolded. And then as I go to the next topic, then the bold from the first topic goes away and the new topic is bolded. That way it's kind of highlighting the flow on the presentation. That way I'm kind of directing them to maybe read on the screen with me as I discuss it, rather than just throwing everything up there and hoping that they follow along.
Gotcha. So in other words, differentiating.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, so I think just kind of going off of what Josh mentioned, really utilizing the whole PowerPoint presenter mode where you have a separate screen which you can put in your own notes. That way it allows you to really cut down on being overly verbal on the slides itself, but you still have all those notes separately, which only you can see, and that kind of guides your discussions and really gives information to the people that they still need, but they're not having to focus all their attention and reading it off the screen, things like that. I found really helpful. Yeah, and just trying not to focus too much, depending on the situation, of course, but focus too much on the technical minutia. I think a lot of people can get lost in some of these aspects of it. You really want to be engaging with the audience, and in a diverse setting, the technical stuff could be a little bit alienating to some people. So you want to try and obviously touch on some of it, but not get too lost in it.
Yeah, the mixed audiences are really the big challenge, being specific and technical enough for those who know, and dumbing it down and giving very simple analogies and comparisons for those who don't know, and trying not to bore one group, the experts, or confuse or lose the non-experts.
It's one thing to present to a group of 40 sales engineers at Delo who all have the same job, all know the same material, but in a conference where you might have some engineers, some salespeople, some management, getting too lost in some technical details could kind of derail the presentation pretty quickly.
This will be the last question because I know you guys got clients to call and stuff, but how do you find the environment? Because my experience is that live presentations, we are going to go back to those, but it's not just going to be like it was before where everything, gets a presentation. It's like we've discovered we could get so much done online. These long presentations aren't necessary. Where do you see that going? Do you see the online presenting just continuing as it is now, that we'll be doing more of it, less of it? What do you guys think?
I think it'll probably be a mix of both, right? So you have many companies are going to look at the last 12 to 14 months and realize we're spending way too much money on expenses on people traveling to these conferences when it can easily be done virtually. And then on the other hand, you have some conferences or companies where there's no substitute for boots on the ground, as they say, for face-to-face discussions, face-to-face presentations. Having the ability to meet a wide variety of different people in one setting is viewed as invaluable. So I think it's going to be a mix of both, probably. But I think you're right. We'll see a lot of it swing towards virtual on a more permanent basis.
It'll probably be related to the value that it delivers. That if you have a client, if you have a project where there's a joint venture where there's a lot at stake, then you'll want to do it in person.
Yeah, I think from my side, I noticed that during virtual meetings, there's a lot less involvement with the participants. There's a lot fewer questions. There's less opportunity to make that connection. And I think that a lot of these conferences probably notice that they have these presentations that are being given and the feedback is maybe just not up to par. So I think that they will want to get back to more of these kind of in-person presentations and meetings and conferences. But I think for a lot of what we do as sales engineers and presenting to our customers, I find that, or I believe we'll find that it stays virtual for quite a while. I don't suspect that we'll be going to see customers and doing in-house seminars and things like this. In person anymore, at least not in the short term, and it might stay virtual for quite a while.
Yeah, definitely not with the same amount of frequency as before. I think maybe some real large milestone meetings here and there will be important to do in person, but I think you're right. We're going to find a lot of customers are going to be much more interested in virtual meetings. Saves them from having to entertain, schedule a lot of meetings in one day, things like this. I think that's
like there are people now coming to my classes who would have never been able to come before from just a scheduling perspective. That now I would, for example, I would never get on a plane and fly, to Chicago to teach a 1-hour class or to coach somebody for an hour, but they can dial in and we can get it done. So
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess one positive to the virtual though, also, and kind of like you mentioned there, the opportunities are much more available to have these kind of online virtual seminars. I think you have people that are more willing to be involved because it's their only option to join in on these kind of topics. So I think we also see that as well, that our meetings are more plentiful than they were back in March when this all started. So I think that, maybe it's also some positive there as well.
Yeah, and it also, in some instances, gives the opportunity to meet with some more senior level representatives, which normally wouldn't be the case. Had the instance back in August or September timeframe where we were meeting with a pretty large company, which we have a long-standing relationship with, but the meeting quickly evolved into not only the sales managers and some engineers, but all of a sudden the CEO and the CTO jumped on for a quick 15, 20 minutes. They knew our company. They wanted to say hello. They were sitting in their home office just like us. So it was pretty easy for them to join a meeting, which normally would never have been the case.
Yeah. No, that's great. And exactly, you would never, these people, they would never have time, or they would be in a different location. And the pandemic has been a real equalizer, I think, in getting people, talking to each other.
Yeah.
Getting rid of also a lot of just the physical and the hierarchical boundaries.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very true.
Guys, I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with me, and we'll get that out there for hopefully some other people can listen in and get some ideas about their presenting and, things that they can start doing to get their message across better.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to do it.
Yeah. It was good talking to you. I appreciate that.
If you enjoyed this podcast, here's some of our other ones at soundcloud.com/impactpresenting, or on our website, www.impactpresenting.com, or our YouTube channel, Impact Presenting.